Glock in my...
Quick, I need a video I can do between the Game Awards and now. Okay, that works. Let's do a quick roundup video, you know, a video discussing the movies I watch within a month. I watch a lot of movies, and within this month, I reached 100 movies for the 2023 ranking video, and I ain't stopping. So today, I'd like to go over everything I've watched in October of 2023. My reviews of each of these movies are available on my Letterboxd at @OfficialXander. I watched 3 movies on October 2nd, 2 on Peacock, and 1 in theaters. First, we'll start with Hypnotic. I have a 30-second short on this movie, so let's get into it. It could have been better. Hypnotic is just such a bore. It's so hard to sit through certain scenes without falling asleep. And Ben Affleck sure gives a performance that involves him acting. He's so serious in this role. It's like that Dunkin' commercial with Ice Spice.
My fans is Coil Munchkins.
I'm a munch. Hypnotic is just really bland, and it definitely could have used more of that Robert Rodriguez charm. And next up we have Rally Road Racers, a generally unknown animated movie, and honestly, it being unknown is tough. I really enjoyed this one. I always have a soft spot for little-known animated movies. I tried to make Playmobil the movie. You are not Lego! The biggest issue I have with this film is that it's just very safe. I feel a few edgy jokes and a more interesting story really could have pushed this forward. But I enjoy the characters. It's a very fast-paced kind of movie, being a racing movie. A rally road racing movie. But alas, it is flawed. Still fun, though. And to my theater watch, I enjoyed Dumb Money with Gabe. Dumb Money is such a funny film, and definitely one of the top comedies of the year. Following the events of Rory and Kitty and the GameStop stock, Dumb Money is chock full of great performances, a genuine sense of rooting for the little guy, and a really good vibe to it. It's a really fun film, and definitely one of my favorites of the month. Screw the Wall Street motherfucker. October 5th, home to 2 watches, one with another theater watch and the other a streaming watch. The theater watch was Expendables 4. God, I hate this movie. It's so dumb, obnoxious, and leaves a bad taste in your mouth just like your mom. The cast is barely trying, but that's what you get when you run into Megatron Foximus. I just wasn't a fan at all. This is in the running for one of the worst movies of 2023, but that will come in January. Oh, just you wait. Onto our streaming release, Buddy Games Spring Awakening, the sequel to the average comedy film Buddy Games. This is just a really fun time. It's not a good movie, but I really enjoyed it, way more than the reality show. Hey buddy, what a good time. I love you all. This has truly been a Buddy Games. The cast gives it their all, and to their credit, this really didn't need to exist. But the fact that it is trying, even if it fails miserably, is worth some bonus points. This will definitely be in the middle somewhere come the ranking. October 6th had one of my favorite releases this month, Theater Camp. It came onto Hulu, and I loved this movie. It was weird and hard to follow at times, but the cast is funny, the jokes mostly land, and I'm sorry, I really like Jimmy Tatro. He was also in The Machine, and he was also funny there. He gives one of my favorite lines in the movie. Theater Camp might not have been a very well-known release, but I enjoyed it. I only watched a short film on this day, The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar, one of the 4 Wes Anderson shorts on Netflix based on Roald Dahl books. I didn't watch the other ones because I didn't know they existed. This short was weird. Like most of Anderson's filmography, it's strange, weirdly told, and with that dry sense of humor, but I wasn't interested in it. I think because it was a short, it was trying too hard to get too much information at once, and usually Wes Anderson movies are good at that when they're feature length. I don't know, I still like this one, so I guess it's not all bad. Okay, only 1 entry for October 9th, that's unfortunate. Yep, I finally caved and watched Fast X, and as far as I'm concerned, it's not the worst of the franchise, but it's not good either. A lot of it is just as standard as the Fast and Furious movies get, with obnoxious characters, cheesy one-liners, cheesy action, cheesy Swiss. Fast X is about as middle of the road as it gets. October 11th was Getting Bitches Central for old Xander. I watched A Million Miles Away, Meg 2 The Trench, and Extraction 2. 2 action movies and a biopic. A Million Miles Away is a decent flick, probably the best of the 3 I watched. I like Michael Pena in this one, mostly because he's done an obnoxious little twit. It's not a terribly interesting story being told, but it's good enough. Meg 2 is everything I thought it would be, a film that didn't need to happen, and yet, strangely, I had a little fun with it. The first Meg was nothing special, and while I prefer this movie just never happened at all, it doesn't have a total lack of purpose. I found it enjoyable, even if I am aware it didn't need to happen. Finally, Extraction 2. I took way too long to get this film. So how do my thoughts stand on the sequel? It's good. Yeah, October 11th was the most safe day for October because I didn't hate Meg 2. I thought A Million Miles Away was fine, and now we have Extraction 2, which I also think is fine. It's a decent little action film, and Chris Hemsworth is good. Bless his little Australian heart. As far as I'm concerned, it was a decent action flick. October 12th was a whole lot of nothing with Kandahar and the Boogeyman. Kandahar is yet another Gerard Butler action movie. The Boogeyman, which was on Hulu, is a pretty below average horror movie with occasionally really good ideas. It has a pretty huge flaw that I'll discuss in the 2023 ranking, but as is, I just wasn't a fan of this one. It was just another below average horror movie, not much else to it. October 13th wasn't much in terms of quantity, but it definitely was in terms of quality. Talk to Me is amazing. As I mentioned in the horror movie video, there's always one horror movie each year that scares me. Bingo. The scares are good, the acting is chilling, and best of all, it's directed by YouTubers. Happy day! I really enjoy Talk to Me, definitely a top tier 2023 horror movie. On October 14th, I watched Guy Ritchie's The Covenant, arguably the least Guy Ritchie feeling Guy Ritchie film. That being said, as a film, it works pretty well. Jake Gyllenhaal, hey Swifty, shut the. He gives a pretty good performance alongside his co-star Dar Salim. This film isn't my favorite from Ritchie, but I enjoy it decently. October 15th was a whole lot of Blackberry. I actually really enjoyed this movie. A satirical take on the story of Blackberry. I will admit, this movie is better than it has any right to be. Blackberry has Jay Baruchel and Glenn Howerton. This film is great! The film is good at balancing that act of being a serious biopic while also being fun and carefree. Howerton gives such a bizarre and over-the-top performance, I couldn't help but love it. And Jay Baruchel was good as the founder, Mike Lazarus. I always love when Baruchel admits he's a frickin' nerd. I'd say if this film was shorter, it would have been one of my few 4.5 out of 5s. But for now... Yet another one-movie day, October 16th held my watch of The Pope's Exorcist, a very average horror movie with a few scares and Russell Crowe. Oh god! The Pope's Exorcist is a very standard bad horror movie. The scares don't really work, the story is a very loose one at best, and Russell Crowe, I usually like him in all of his movies, but he's weirdly given this weak performance that doesn't match his standards at all. It's a very low-rated horror film, and whatever the case, it just wasn't a fun watch. The movie of the day on October 17th was Spy Kids Armageddon. It's freaking Spy Kids again! It's just Spy Kids, you know what's going on, and even worse, Shazam is in it, dear God! It's a very average experience. If you've watched the first 4 Spy Kids, you've watched Armageddon. Once again, this was a short film for October 18th. This time it was Once Upon a Studio. This was great. Seriously, really great. A touching and fun tribute to Walt Disney and his legacy. Even if that legacy in 2023 is I'll let you live it for free. Once Upon a Studio wraps up on 100 years of Disney, and it does it with such style and grace. All these characters brought together in one 10-minute short. It's crazy to think about, but I absolutely adored it. The movie of the day on October 19th was About My Father. I love when Robert De Niro forgets he's Robert De Niro. Yeah, no, I wasn't a fan of this one. It was just... God, I know Sebastian Maniscalco is funny, but you wouldn't be able to tell with this movie. A lot of jokes are stereotypical Italian jokes. It's exactly what you'd expect from a bad Robert De Niro movie, like Dirty Grandpa, War with Grandpa, Naked Grandpa. Naked, huh? Wasn't a fan. Bitches. I finally caught the Hulu indie film Rye Lane on October 21st. It came out back in March. What took me so long? Rye Lane is a good film, a very fun and original take, and for being a romance film, it actually gets a good sense of character and originality down. I don't think this is one of my favorites of the year, but Rye Lane was a good little indie film that was a fun watch. October 23rd had Quasi, moving on. For the first time in a while, we actually had 2 movies watched in one day. The first is, oh no. Wasn't a fan of the After series before, and let's just say movie 5 isn't exactly a fun watch. This is actually awful. Like, I try to be calm with certain films, but this is... God, it's like if the My Big Fat Greek Wedding films took themselves too seriously and had My Big Fat Greek intercourse with the Twilight movies. It's just bad. The romance isn't believable, the characters are awful, it's just bad. Don't watch it. Also on this day, I watched A Good Person. It's fine. October 27th helmed my favorite movie of the month, Killers of the Flower Moon. This is really, really good, and I don't need to tell you that. Y'all know this movie kicked ass. Leonardo DiCaprio is good, the story is great, the music in this one is really good. Diabetes! I really like Killers of the Flower Moon. Such a deep story told in such a deep way. I could have gone for a shorter runtime though. Yeah, clocking in at 206 minutes, that definitely feels like 206 minutes. If it was shorter, I'd have no problem saying this is a top tier of 2023. Still, great movie nonetheless. October 29th helmed Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. I took a while on this one, and honestly, I like this film fine. I like the main actress, I like the acting, it's a good vibe. It's definitely not one of my favorites of the year, but I really liked it. October 31st had my last 3 watches of the month. First up is Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. Now, since I'm remaking my infamous DreamWorks ranking, I'm going to keep my thoughts on this one short. That being said, I had fun with this one. It's definitely a weaker DreamWorks movie, but I like the characters, the humor is there, and I like Ruby as the lead. She's dorky but knows her responsibility. Had this maybe had more time with the story, I would have liked it more, but still, I had a decent time with it. I also watched Reptile, the Netflix mystery film, and again, I enjoyed it just fine. It wasn't a great movie by any means, but there's a lot to enjoy, including the mystery itself. While it's neither a top tier or bottom tier release, I am glad I got a chance to watch it. And coming up on our last movie of 2023, it's Five Nights at Freddy's. I talked about it in the last video, too bad. Well, I gotta get going. I got some important things to do, like watch SpongeBob and Doing Your Mom. Until next time. Oh, no, is that freaking Barkaplot?